Do, 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 do. It says we are live like that. Happy Thursday, everybody. Bosto be unto all. Nothing missing, nothing broken in our lives, man. Lay hands on yourself. Speak that over your body every day. Things begin to change. Happy birthday to those who are having one, and may favor be upon you. You are always empowered to prosper. Cosmic Ray Health Alert. Folks, we're into a good one on this one. A lot of cognition problems, cardiac, neuromuscular, the whole bit. So heads up on that as we continue into this galactic sheet. The next couple of decades are no doubt going to get interesting. So how is everybody? Glad to see that Jesus Christ is in here with us. That's funny. Like it. And it's cool. And so I I think about that and it's just funny. And welcome, of course. We're always open-minded here and we welcome everybody. Who's all here? Hey, wise April Fool, how you doing? How is the great state of Colorado? Well, actually, fall is here and feels good. Can we help me and my family manifest moving up there soon? Ah, excellent, excellent. Well, just don't go too far to the north. There's big fires, big fires. But welcome, Shannon. It's gonna be great to have you here. Let's see. Hey, Susie Q. How are you? Hey, Kent Cook. How you doing? Kent and I are going to get on a show and going to talk about robotics and manufacturing. Peter, how did do Jupiter's Day? Absolutely. Good to see you, my friend. Deborah, hello. Sarah, hello. How are you? Jenna, good to see you. Red Roof Ranch. Valerie, good to see you as well. Angelfish. Emperor Rex, good to see you. And of course, Lost in Space. How are you, my brother? Good to see you. Western Slope is quite nice. Down in the San Juans are nice. Pretty cool. Yeah. Hey, David Barry. Gonna have David on next week if our schedules can work out and the energies begin. You see, the shirt today, what sign are you? Each of us are in a wave pattern. Light moves in a wave pattern. In fact, this is a good example of what light is, how we see light being orientated. And then how does our light, there's diagonal light, polarized light. There is horizontal polarized light. There is diagonal polarized light. We are light beings. And we're dealing with a light being called Lucifer. And if he is a light being, then he is of a light that we have no knowledge of. Says all wisdom is with Lucifer, most likely in the feminine context and construct. So what sine wave are you? That's the question. Let's see what else is going on. Tonight, the Steiger Perspective on artistfirst.com, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, where I live. Because I live in the mountains. I live a mile above everyone who lives at sea level. So I'm waving to you. How y'all doing down there? San Juans are your fave. Yeah, they're beautiful. No doubt about it. Hey, Susan Algro, good to see you. But it is funny. Hey, Brandy, good to see you. Gaza, welcome from down under. Good to see you, my friend. Sally Beard, good to see you. Yeah, I live at almost 6,000 feet. So technically, I should be able to look down to everyone else, huh? How y'all doing? And then you got those who actually live up higher, 9, 10,000 feet. Cool. So check it out tonight. The Steiger Perspective, talking about the soulless humans, part 2. They're here. Evidence would suggest been here a long time, been It's debatable who was here first. And again, we take the connotation that soulless being bad. You know, if you were of the soulless ones, and actually probably a better term from that is a dead soul. That if you had a dead soul and knew the energy of a live soul, yeah. And you know, if you break this down, where did this come from? Well, actually, it comes from, go back to the Gilgamesh, Epic of Gilgamesh. I mean, but it's translated into the Christian Bible and the Genesis story. The 6-day people, the 126-day people, had no soul, but they were considered perfect. Yet the Genesis 2:7 Adamite, the Adam had the breath of whatever the breath was, and it said it became a living soul, clearly indicating two different types of humanity. And that's what we've been from day one. Two different types of humans trying to live amongst what we would call polar opposites. Maybe it's some cosmic joke. I don't know. But anyway, check it out on the Steiger perspective tonight. We really do get into that much deeper. Yeah. Tomorrow's card reading day. I like those days. I really do. They're a lot of fun. And not only are they fun, but wow, good therapy, the way I look at it, because we all generate a signal. Philo, in his writings, the creation of Moses, he wrote that there's no living space that is not occupied with life, meaning that there's many different levels of life that we can't even see. And so when you really get into what the cards really are saying, it's amazing, because we are always the present until the moment we think the past, and then we move out of the present, and the future is, it's like this doorway, billions of potential futures, but what only ends up coming through is what we pull through. All right. So I want to, yes, Gary, he did make some good baklava. I agree with you. Hey, Zen, good to see you. Appreciate some of the emails. You know, this is really an enlightened group. This is good teaching. I mean, we're reading it. For full disclaimer, I neither advocate nor restrict the thoughts, theologies, and constructs that we're reading about. Make your own decision. We are the jury, so we're sitting in day 2 of court. I thought the first day, I thought Satan made a very good case. In fact, I found it. You go back and listen to it and read it again. All right, we're going to get in today in probably some of the most confusing aspects that modern Judeo-Christianity, along with the other Abrahamic belief systems, and then the Eastern belief systems, show that there's some confusion. Can you sell your soul? What if you don't have a soul? How can you sell something you don't own? Hell? What is hell? How is that defined? So Satan has a few things to say, and let's give him his due, and let's get right into this. Hell, the devil, and how to sell your soul. This is the Satanic Bible. Satan has certainly been the best friend to the church has ever had. He has kept it in business for all these years. The false doctrine of hell and the devil has allowed the Protestant and Catholic churches to flourish for far too long. Without a devil to point their finger at, religionists of the right-hand path would have nothing with which to threaten their followers. Isn't that a hell of a statement? The reason why most people are in religion is because of fear. Man, I've got to tell you, if you're in your religion and you have fear, get the hell out. All right. Um, Satan leads you to temptation. Satan is the prince of evil. Satan is vicious, cruel, brutal, they warn. If you give in to the temptations of the devil, you will surely suffer eternal damnation and roast in hell. Well, that sounds to me like they're good people down there. They got a barbecue going. I love barbecue. I lived in Texas for a long time. And you know what? Texans know how to throw a barbecue. That's all I got to say. And then you think about Yahweh, the Elohim, Jehovah. Well, that cat loves the smell of burnt beef. Doubt me? Go read in the book of Leviticus. Anyway, all right. The Semitic meaning of Satan is the adversary or opposition, or the accuser. The very word devil comes from the Indian deva, which means God. Satan represents opposition to all religions which serve to frustrate and condemn man for his natural instincts. He has been given an evil role simply because he represents the carnal, earthly, and mundane aspects of life. What the hell are we here for then? That's the question I have. Anyway, we continue. Satan, the chief devil of the Western world, was originally an angel whose duty was to report human delinquencies to God. It was not until the 14th century that he began to be depicted as an evil deity who was part man and part animal, with goat-like horns and hoofs. Before Christianity gave him the names of Satan, Lucifer, etc., Metatopheles, the carnal side of man's nature was governed by the god which was then called Dionysus, or Pan, depicted as a satyr or a faun by the Greeks. Pan was originally the good guy and symbolized fertility and physicity. Whenever a nation comes under a new form of government, the heroes of the past become the villains of the present. So it is with religion. The earliest Christians believed that the pagan deities were devils, and to employ them was to use black magic. Miraculous heavenly events, they termed, were white magic. This was the sole distinction between the two. The old gods did not die. They fell into hell and became devils. The boogeyman, the goblin, used to frighten children, is derived from the Slavic bog, which means God, as does Baiha in Hindu. Amazing how they have been screwing with us. Many pleasures revered before the advent of Christianity was condemned by the new religion. And folks, Christianity is a new religion. You cannot find any theologian who can logically explain how did suddenly the Hebraic God who converted to, I guess, Judaism, then converted into Christianity, and then converted into Islam. This guy's got multiple personality complex disorder. That's all you can say. That's all it is. It required little changeover to transform the horns and cloven hoofs of Pan into a most convincing devil. Pan's attributes could be neatly changed into a charged with punishment sins. And so the metamorphosis was complete. The association of the goat with the devil is found in the Christian Bible, where the holiest day of the year, the Day of Atonement, what day is that, folks? Do you know the Day of Atonement? Can you give me the date? Was celebrated by casting lots for 2 goats without blemish, one to be offered to the Lord, the one to Azazel. Folks, we're talking Leviticus here. The goat carrying the sins of the people were driven into the desert and became a scapegoat. This is the origin of the goat, which is still used in lodge ceremonies today, as it was also used in Egypt, where once a year it was sacrificed to God. You know, when a God begins to want sacrifices, just remember your sorry ass could be next as the sacrifice. I don't like that type of a situation. I prefer to have it the other way. The gods best be afraid of a Robert Twain Steiger because they may be on the sacrificial altar. All right. The devils of mankind are many, and their origins are diverse. The performance of satanic ritual does not embrace the calling forth of demons. This practice is followed only by those who are in fear of the very forces they conjure. Folks, there's a reason why I don't engage in conjuring spirits. I don't invoke them. You know, my attitude is this: I'm as badass as they are. In fact, I'm badder because you see, I went through the birthright. They didn't. And it means when I exit out of this plane, don't screw with me. It's the best thing I can tell you. It's like in the movie City Slickers when the trail boss died. And the cook said, Lord, who was the guy's name? I just had it in my mind. Let's say Grady. He says, don't piss him off, man. All right. The devil's, supposedly, demons are malevolent spirits with attributes conducive to the deterioration of the people or events that they touch upon. The Greek word demon meant a guardian spirit or spouse or source of inspiration. And to be sure, later theologians invented legion upon legion of their harbingers of inspiration, all wicked. Isn't it odd that Dante never gave us what he should have, the opposite of what his Inferno was? Never gets into the descriptions of what the opposite. In fact, hell did not exist until the guy taking mushrooms decides to write about what he saw. And actually, the poem is about a love story. Dante just got a little sidetracked, as they would say. An indication of the cowardice of magicians of the right-hand path is the practice of calling upon a particular demon, who would supposedly be the minion of the devil, to do his bidding. The assumption is that the demon, being only a flunky of the devil, is easier to control. Occult lore states that only the most formidable, protected, or insanely foolhardy sorcerer would try to call forth the devil himself. The Satanist does not figuratively call upon these lesser devils, but brazenly invokes those who people that infernal army of long-standing outrage, the devils themselves. Theologians have cataloged some of the names of devils in their list of demons, as might be expected. But the roster which follows contains the names and origins of the gods and goddesses called upon, which make up a large part of the occupancy of the royal palace of hell. Folks, let me ask you something. If you're Satan, if you're Lucifer, the antithesis of God, which I guess in this case, I don't know, is an Elohim, is Yahweh, who I don't know. That's ambiguous. But let's just say God, the opposite of Satan. Now, Satan is supposedly the God of this world. Yet, the way it's been painted and the way most people see hell is this place of fire, brimstone. But wait a minute. If there's anyone that's going to go for the opulency of a palace, I mean, he's going to outdo God, right? God gave his description in, well, we have both the Temple of Solomon, and then we got this cockamamie story of a great white throne judgment. Isn't it great? Isn't it odd? The great white throne. That's racist, isn't it? Anyway, Satan would have a palace that would make Elvis Presley envious, would make the sheiks envious. If hell is going to be any place, it's going to be like walking into the Bellagio when they first opened. That was far freaking out. Got to be the first guest, well, amongst the first guests in the Venetian as well. That's my point. The lavishness of it. You see? The four crown princes of hell: Satan, Hebrew, adversary, opposite, accuser, Lord of fire, the inferno; the south, Lucifer, Roman, bringer of light, enlightenment, the air, the morning star; the east, Baalel, Hebrew, without a master, baseness of the earth, independence; the north, Leviathan, Hebrew, the serpent, out of the deeps, the sea; the west, Abandon, Hebrew, the destroyer, Abramelech, Sumerian devil, Apunk, Mayan devil, Ahriman; the Mazedian devil, Ammon, Egyptian ram-headed god of life and reproduction of Apollon; Greek synonym for Satan; the arch friend, Asamosis; the devil, Hebrew devil of sensuality and luxury. There's your hell. Originally, creature of judgment, Astaroth, Phoenician goddess of lasciviousness, equivalent to Babylon's Ishtar; Azel, Hebrew, taught man to make weapons of war, introduced cosmetics; Balberith, Canaanite lord of the covenant, who was later made the devil Balaam, Hebrew devil of avarice and greed, Baphomet, worshipped by the Templars as the symbolic of Satan; Bast, Egyptian goddess of pleasure, represented by the cat; Beelzebub, Hebrew, lord of the flies, taken from symbolism of the scarab; Behemoth, Hebrew, personification of Satan in the form of an elephant; Barit, Serach, name of the Satan; Baal, Celtic god of hell; Chemosh, national god of the Moabites, later a devil of the Sumres; ride a black horse and rules Africa; Coyote, American Indian devil, Dagon; Philistine, avenging angel of the sea, Dambala; voodoo serpent god, Demon Gorgon; Greek name of the devil, it is said should not be known to mortals, Diabolos; Greek, flowing downwards, Dracula; Romanian, name of the devil, Imo; Japanese ruler of hell, Eromois; Greek, prince of death, Fenris, son of Loki, depicted as a wolf, Gargo; Dim, of the Demogorgon; Greek, name of the devil, Hybroium; Hebrew synonym for Satan, Hellcat; Greek goddess of the underworld, witchcraft, Ishtar; Babylonian goddess of fertility, Kali; Hindu, daughter of Shiva, high priestess of the Thuggeries, Lilith; Hebrew, female devil, Adam's first wife, who taught him the ropes. We know that well here. Lilith is my friend. You know, she is. I mean, I did for her what I'm doing here. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Loci, Teutonic devil, Mammon, Aramaic god of wealth and profit, Mania, the Etruscan goddess of hell, Mantis, Etruscan god of hell, Marduk, god of the city of Babylon, Mastertima, Hebrew synonym for Satan, Malach, Toas, Yazidia, the devil, Metaphilosophes, Greek, who shuns the light, Faust, Metzzetil, Aztec goddess of the light, Mimestian, Aztec god of death, Midgard, son of Loki, depicted as a serpent, Malcolm, Ammonite devil, Moloch, Phoenician and Canaanite devil, Mormo, Greek king of the ghouls, consort of Hector, Nama, Hebrew female devil of seduction, Nagral, the Babylonian god of Hades, Nahesha, American Indian god, Nija, Polish god of the underworld, Oyama, Japanese name for Satan, Pan, Greek god of lust, later regulated to the devilдom of Pluto, Greek god of the underworld, Proserpine, Greek queen of the underworld, Paka, Welsh name for the Satan, Rimmon, Syrian devil worshipped at Damascus, Sebesos, Pilgrim origin, identified with Dionysus, snake worship, Satan, Enochian equivalent of Satan, Samiel, Hebrew, venom of God, Samu, Central Asian devil, Sadat, American Indian devil, Shamat, Egyptian goddess of vengeance, Set, Egyptian devil, Shaitan, Arabic name for Satan, Shiva, Hindu, the destroyer, Supe, Incan god of the underworld, Te Amo, Chinese counterpart to the devil, covetousness, desire, Tekrot, Russian name of Satan, black god, Tezcatlipoca, Aztec god of the hell of Thymus, Sumerian god who later was relegated to devilдom, Thoth, the Egyptian god of magic, Tanrede, Scandinavian female devil, Typhon, Greek personification of Satan, Yozan, Aztec god of hell, Yin Lo Yang, Chinese ruler of hell. Wow, that was a mouthful. And the audience is applauding. So there we go. What a lineage. The devils of past religions have always, at least in part, had animal characteristics, evidence of man's constant need to deny that he too is an animal. For to do so would serve a mighty blow to his impoverished ego. We are animals. You know, we got this cockamamie idea. Listen, genetically, we're chimpanzees. The pig was despised by the Jews and the Egyptians. It symbolized the gods Phre, Osiris, Ananias, Persephone, Attis, and Demeter, and was sacrificed to Osiris and the moon. But in time, it became degraded into a devil. The Phoenicians worshipped a fly god, Baal, from which comes the devil, Beelzebub. Both Baal and Beelzebub are identical to the dung beetle or to the Cerberus of the Egyptians, which appeared to resurrect itself, much as the mystical bird, the phoenix, rose from its own ashes. The ancient Jews believed, through their contact with the Persians, that the two great forces in the world were Aru and Mazda, the god of fire, light, life, and goodness, and Ahriman, the serpent, the god of darkness, destruction, death, and evil. These and countless other examples not only depict man's devils as animals, but also show his need to sacrifice the original animal gods and demote them to his devils. Isn't it odd, for instance, that the Jewish God demanded animal sacrifice? You see, that's an assault on this very planet. that you would have a so-called deity who says it's holy, that created everything, us, yet it required man, who is considered to be nothing more than a higher form of an animal, to sacrifice what was there to serve man, not the God. You see, folks, go and read your Bible. Read about that God. See, I can't find anywhere where Lucifer, Satan, the devil, ever commanded a group of people to sacrifice tens of thousands of cattle, tens of thousands of fowl, birds, so much so that the blood ran down the temple steps for days. That to me would be a Satan. I don't understand that. And the problem today, as Satan is pointing out, this Christianity, these other religions, they're all included. Think about where they came from. At the time of the Reformation in the 16th century, the alchemist Dr. Johann Faust discovered a method of summoning a demon, Mephistopheles, from hell and making a pact with him. He signed a contract in blood to turn his soul over to Mephistopheles in return for the feeling of youth, and at once became young. When the time came for Faust to die, he retired to his room and was blown to bits as though his laboratory had exploded. The story is a protest of the times, the 16th century, against science, chemistry, and magic. To the Satanists, it is unnecessary to sell your soul to the devil or make a pact with Satan. This threat of devised by Christianity to terrorize people so that they would not stray from the fold. When scolding fingers and trembling voices, they taught their followers that if they gave in to temptations of Satan and lived their lives according to their natural predilections, they would have to pay for their sinful pleasures by giving their souls to Satan and suffering in hell for all eternity. People who were led to believe that a pure soul was a passport to an everlasting life. Pious prophets have taught man to fear Satan. But what of terms like God-fearing? If God is so merciful, why do people have to fear him? Why are we to believe there is nowhere we can turn to escape fear? If you have to fear God, why not be Satan-fearing? At least have fun that being God-fearing denies you. Without such a wholesale fear, religionists would have had nothing with which to wield power over their followers. Their followers would have hung them. The Teutonic goddess of the dead and daughter of Loki was named Hel, a pagan god of torture and punishment. Another El was added when the books of the Old Testament were formulated. The prophets who wrote the Bible did not know the word hell. They used the Hebrew word Shiloh, and the Greek word Hades, which meant the grave. Also the Greek Tartaros, which was the abode of fallen angels. The underworld inside the earth, the Gehenna, which was a valley near Jerusalem, where Moloch reigned and garbage was dumped and burned. It is from this that the Christian church has evolved the idea of fire and brimstone in hell. Read the book of Nehemiah. You'll get what I'm talking about. The Protestant hell and the Catholic hell are places of eternal punishment. However, the Catholics also believe there is a purgatory where all souls go for a time, and a limbo where unbaptized souls go. The Buddhist hell is divided into 8 sections, the first 7 of which can be expiated. The ecclesiastical description of hell is that of a horrible place of fire and torment. In Dante's Inferno and in northern climes, it was thought to be an icy cold region, a giant refrigerator. Not many of the Christian missionaries, when they first went up to the Inuit Eskimos, and their deceiving ways to convert these peaceful people, after they had spewed their poison, one of the elders came to the missionary and said, "So now that I know that this hell exists, how do we really get there?" And the missionary says, "It's a terrible place." The Eskimo elder said, "But if it's the place of fire, then that's warmth. We want to go." You know how they changed it? The next generation was told that if you knew about hell, you would go to hell. The Inuit elder came and said to the missionary, "So, and now that we know of hell, and now you say, because we know of hell, we're going to hell, why'd you tell us?" Hmm. Hmm. Even with all their threats of eternal damnation and soul roasting, Christian missionaries have run across some who were not so quick to swallow their drivel. Pleasure and pain, like beauty, are in the eye of the beholder. So when missionaries ventured into Alaska and warned the Eskimos of the horrors of hell and the blazing lake of fire awaiting transgressors, they eagerly asked, "How do we get there?" Most Satanists do not accept Satan as the anthropomorphic being with cloven hooves or a barbed tail or horns. He merely represents a force in nature, the power of darkness, which has been named just that because no religion has taken these forces out of darkness. Look at all the religions of light. If it wasn't for the darkness, then they remember, in the beginning was darkness. It is the most powerful ruling force in this dimension. All light in this realm that is seen with the physical optics is artificial light. It's light generated by the combustion of fuel on stars. It is not the true light, nor is it the true darkness. Anyway, nor has science been able to apply technical terminology to this force. It is an untapped reservoir that few can make use of because they lack the ability to use a tool without having at first break down and label all the parts which make it run. It is this incessant need to analyze which prohibits most people from taking advantage of this many-faceted key to the unknown, which the Satanists choose to call Satan. Satan, as a god, demigod, personal savior, or whatever you wish to call him, was invented by the formulators of every religion on the face of the earth for only one purpose: to preside over men's so-called wicked activities and situations here on earth. Consequently, anything resulting in physical or mental gratification was defined as evil, thus assuring a lifetime of unwarranted guilt for everyone. So if evil, they have named us, evil we are. And so what? The Satanic age is upon us. Why not take advantage of it and live? Love and hate. Satanism represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates. You cannot love everyone. It is ridiculous to think you can. If you love everyone and everything, you lose your natural powers of selection and wind up being a pretty poor judge of character and quality. If anything is used too freely, it loses its true meaning. Therefore, the Satanist believes you should love strongly and completely those who deserve your love, but never turn the other cheek to your enemy. Love is one of the most intense emotions felt by man. Another is hate. Forcing yourself to feel indiscriminate love is very unnatural. If you try to love everyone, you only lessen your feeling for those who deserve your love. Repressed hatred can lead to many physical and emotional ailments. By learning to release your hatred towards those who deserve it, you cleanse yourself of these malignant emotions and need not to take your pent-up hatred out on your loved ones. How many times have we seen this? How many times have we all done it? But you say, oh, no, Wayne, it's not hatred. Well, listen, I know couples that gotten into some pretty intense situations. Are they evil because they exhibited anger? No, they're humans. We have emotions. It's what we do, and we do it well. There has never been a great love movement in the history of the world that hasn't wound up killing countless numbers of people. We must assume to prove how much they love them. Every hypocrite who ever walked the earth has had pockets bulging with love. Every parasitical religious claim to love his enemies, even though when wronged, he consoles himself by thinking, God will punish me. God will punish them. Instead of admitting to themselves that they are capable of hating their foes and treating them in the manner they deserve, they say, there, but for the grace of God, I go, and pray for them. Why should we humiliate and lower ourselves by drawing such inaccurate comparisons? Satanism has been thought as being synonymous with cruelty and brutality. This is so only because people are afraid to face the truth. And the truth is that human beings are not all benign and all loving. Just because the Satan admits he is capable of both love and hate, he is considered hateful. On the contrary, because he is able to give vent to his hatred through ritualized expression, he is far more capable of love, the deepest kind of love. By honestly recognizing and admitting to both the hate and the love he feels. There is no confusing one emotion with the other. Without being able to experience one of these emotions, you cannot fully experience the other. Wow. Let's think about this. Where is this wrong? I've studied the Bible decades and decades. I was always mystified by the violence of the Old Testament. Violent. The New Testament, much different. No different. Violent. It's estimated nearly 1 billion humans have died in the name of Christianity. I ask how many have died in the name of Lucifer? How many have died in the name of Satan? Satanic sex. Much controversy has arisen over the satanic views on free love. It is often assumed that sexual activity is the most important factor of the satanic religion, and that willingness to participate in sex orgies is a prerequisite for becoming a Satanist. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, opportunists who have no deeper interest in Satanism than merely the sexual aspect are emphatically discouraged. Satanism does not advocate sexual freedom, but only in the true sense of the word free love. And the satanic concept means exactly that: freedom to either be faithful to one's person or to indulge your sexual desires as many others who you feel is necessary to satisfy your particular needs. Satanism does not encourage orgastic activity or extramarital affairs for those to whom they do not come naturally. For many, it would be very unnatural and detrimental to be unfaithful to their chosen mates. To others, it would be frustrating to be bound sexually to just one person. Each person must decide for himself what form of sexual activity best suits his individual needs. Self deceitfully forcing yourself to be adulterous or to have sex partners when not married just for the sake of proving others, or worse yet, to yourself, that you are emancipated from sexual guilt is just flat out wrong by satanic standards, as leaving any sexual need unfulfilled because of an ingrained feelings of guilt. Many of those who are consistently preoccupied with demonstrating their emancipation from sexual guilt are, in reality, held in even greater sexual bondage than those who simply accept sexual activity as a natural part of life and don't make a big to-do over their sexual freedom. For example, it is an established fact that the nymphomaniac, every man's dream girl and heroine of all lured novels, is not sexually free, but is actually frigid and roams from man to man because she is too inhibited to ever find complete sexual release. Another misconception is the idea that ability to engage in group sexual activity is indicative of sexual freedom. All contemporary free sex groups have one thing in common: discouragement of fetishistic or deviant activity. Actually, the most forced examples of non-fetishistic sexual activity, thinly disguised as freedom, have a common format. Each of the participants in an orgy removes all clothing, following the example set forth by one, and mechanically fornicated, also following the leader's example. None of the performers considered that their emancipated form of sex might be regarded as regimented and infantile by non-members who failed to equate uniformity with freedom. The Satanist realizes that if he is to be a sexual connoisseur and truly free from all sexual guilt, he cannot be satisfied by the so-called sexual revolutionist any more than he can be by the prudery of his guilt-ridden society. These free sex clubs miss the whole point of sexual freedom. Unless sexual activity can be expressed on an individual basis, which includes personal fetishes, there is absolutely no purpose in belonging to such sexual freedom organizations. Satanist condones any type of sexual activity which properly satisfies your individual desires, be it heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, or even asexual, if you choose. Satanism also sanctions any fetish or deviation which will enhance your sex life, so long as it involves no one who does not wish to be involved. The prevalence of deviant and or fetishistic behavior in our society would stagger the imagination of the sexually naive. There are more sexual variants than the unenlightened individual can perceive. Transvestism, sadism, masochism, urolagnia, exhibitionism, to name only a few of the more prominent. Everyone has some form of fetish, but because they are unaware of the preponderance of fetishistic activity in our society, they feel they are deprived if they submit to their unnatural yearnings. Even the asexual, as a deviation, is asexuality. It is far more abnormal to have a lack of sexual desire, unless illness or age or another valid reason has caused the wane, than it is to be sexually promiscuous. However, if a Satanist chooses sexual sublimation above overt sexual expression, that is entirely his own affair. In many cases of sexual sublimation or asexuality, any attempt to emancipate uh, himself sexually would prove devastating to the asexual. Asexuals are invariably sexually sublimated by their jobs and hobbies. All the energy and deriving interest which would normally be devoted to sexual activity is channeled into other pastimes or into other chosen occupations. If a person favors other interest over sexual activity, it is his right, and no one is justified in condemning him for it. However, the person should at least recognize the fact that this is a sexual sublimation. Because of the lack of opportunity for expression, many secret sexual desires never progress beyond the fantasy stage. Lack of release often leads to compulsion, and therefore, a great number of people devise undetectable methods of giving vent to these urges. Just because most fetishistic activity is not outwardly apparent, the sexually unsophisticated should not delude himself into thinking it does not exist. To cite examples of the ingenious techniques used, the male transvestite will indulge in his fetish by wearing feminine undergarments while going about his daily activity. Or the mononistic woman might wear a rubber girdle several sizes too small. So she may derive sexual pleasure from her fetishistic discomfort throughout the day, with no one the wiser. These illustrations are far tamer and more prevalent examples than others which could have been given. Satanism encourages any form of sexual expression you may desire, so long as it hurts no one else. This statement must be qualified to avoid misinterpretation. By not hurting another, this does not include the unintentional hurt felt by those who might not agree with your views on sex because of their anxieties regarding sexual morality. Naturally, you should avoid offending others who mean a great deal to you and such prudish friends and relatives. However, if you earnestly endeavor to escape hurting them, and despite your efforts they accidentally find out, you cannot be held responsible and therefore should feel no guilt as a result of either your sexual convictions or their being hurt because of those convictions. If you are in constant fear of offending the prudish by your attitude towards sex, then there is no sense in trying to emancipate yourself from the sexual guilt. However, no purpose is served by flaunting your permissiveness. The other exception is the rule regarding dealing with masochists. The masochist derives pleasure from being hurt. So denying the masochist his pleasure through pain hurts him just as much as the actual physical pain hurts the non-masochist. The story of the truly cruel sadist illustrates this point. The masochist says to the sadist, "Beat me," to which the merciless sadist replies, "No." If a person wants to be hurt and enjoys suffering, then there's no reason not to indulge in his want. The term sadist is a popular usage describes one who obtains pleasure from indiscriminately brutality. Actually, though, the true sadist is selective. He or she carefully chooses from the vast reserve of appropriate victims and takes great delight in giving those who thrive on misery on the fulfillment of their desires. The well-adjusted sadist is Epicurean in selecting those on whom his energies will be well spent. If a person is healthy enough to admit that he is a masochist and enjoys being enslaved and whipped, the real sadist is glad to oblige. Okay. We still got a ways to go on that one. Well, listen, it's one of those topics that, is so assigned with the stigma. Oh, you're a Satanist? Well, then you're involved in all that sexual stuff, huh? And it's amazing how our society is still so prudish to even talk about some of these sexual desires, and this is considered in some circles in very poor taste. But I contend that if ignorance is hidden, ignorance is going to be birthed. And there's more pain in ignorance than there is in knowledge. Let's see. If all parties involved are mature adults who willingly take full responsibility for their actions and voluntarily engage in a given form of sexual expression, even if it is generally considered taboo, then there's no reason for them to repress their sexual inclinations. Boy, this is just, talk about, the Puritans. They're just going batshit crazy at this point now. If you are aware of all the implications, advantages, and disadvantages, and are certain your actions will hurt no one who does not wish or deserves to be hurt, you have no cause to suppress your sexual preference. Just as no two people are exactly the same in their choice of diet or have the same capacity for the consumption of food, sexual taste and appetites vary from one person to another. No person or society has the right to set limitations on the sexual standards or the frequency of sexual activity of another. Proper sexual conduct can only be judged within the context of each individual situation. Therefore, what one person considers sexually correct and moral may be frustrating to another. The reverse is also true. One person may have great sexual prowess, but it is unjust for him to be belittled another whose sexual capacity may not equal his own, and inconsiderate for him to impose himself upon the other person. The man, i.e., the man who has a voracious sexual appetite, but whose wife's sexual needs do not match his own. It is unfair for him to expect her to enthusiastically respond to his overtures, but she must display the same degree of thoughtfulness in the incidents when she does not feel great passion. She should either passively or pleasantly accept him sexually, or raise no complaint if he chooses to find his needs released elsewhere, including autoerotica practices. Wow, this is serious stuff, isn't it? The ideal relationship is one in which the people are deeply in love with one another and are sexually compatible. However, perfect relationships are relatively uncommon. It is important to point out here that spiritual love and sexual love and sexual love can, but do not necessarily go hand in hand. If there is a certain amount of sexual compatibility, often it is limited, and some, but not all, of the sexual desires will be fulfilled. There is no greater sexual pleasure than that derived from association with someone you deeply love. If you are sexually well suited, if you are not suited to another sexually, though it must be stressed that lack of sexual compatibility does not indicate lack of spiritual love. One can, and often does, exist without the other. As a matter of fact, often one member of a couple will resort to outside sexual activity because he deeply loves his mate and wishes to avoid hurting or imposing upon his loved ones. Deep spiritual love is enriched by sexual love, and it is certainly necessary ingredient for any satisfactory relationship. But because of differing sexual predilections, outside sexual activity or masturbation sometimes provides a much needed supplement. And I think I'm going to cut it off right there. We will pick up on this and get into the other aspects. And and actually, I think we're all pretty adult here. I think that we're not talking about anything that is so taboo. In fact, psychologists, psychiatrists, medical doctors will tell you the biggest problem with many couples is that people are not taught sexuality anymore. We're taught a sterilized form of it in the schools merely as copulation. It's not taught about the magic that can happen. And we're going to get more into this, and the Satanic Bible does address this. Because again, the repression that we have in Western cultures is just that, it's repression. You look at the laws that we have. You can go to a beach, a man can wear bare chested and show his tits. Yeah, he's got nipples. They may not be breast like women, but it's still form and function basically the same. However, if a woman goes topless, that's considered to be taboo. It's considered she is to be gross, and in many jurisdictions can be arrested for lewdness. In fact, if you see the repression of our cultures where sexuality and women are concerned, you know, repression is slavery. I lived in a commune. Also, in my youth, enjoyed nature in nudist camps. And I could never understand society's way, because when you make something to be perceived to be nasty, inappropriate, lewd, lasciviousness, you immediately stigmatize this. And so the natural tendencies of human nature become constricted, confused. And I dare say most people are sexually repressed. And I have no idea what's going on in the chat room. This is it's one of these things. And folks, the repression of sexuality is very embedded in all religions. And since in the United States, particularly, we have been indoctrinated and put over the supposed fallacy that we're a Christian nation, it's taken decades to get it out of the education system. But the problem is it's still there. Now, you're intelligent and you should use discretion at all times. That's what it said. But the way that, again, it's repressed is crazy. Eye of the Maelstrom says, interesting show. Yes, it is. But are we not adults? Are we not? How duplicit have we been in the preparation for the continued thought in our culture? It's crazy. We perpetrate these repressed ideas generation after generation after generation, and eventually it's going to show in other places. It always does. Thank you, Susie Q. Ken Cook, what a show. I'm telling you, it's not one you're likely to hear on YouTube. And I'm recording this because, you never know. May end up on another platform. But this is going to be one of those shows that, this lays it out in black and white. And as we continue down, I don't know about you, but I'm getting a really healthy respect for this theology. I guess if you want to put it this way, you can call it a philosophy. I don't know. It's as common sense as you can get. There's no facades here. There's no ambiguity here. And it's if you don't like it, fine. If you like other part on the buffet table, we'll go and put that. That's fine. It's a very open approach. And I don't see any spookiness to this. What did Satan say? Don't invoke demons. Only fools do that. Don't do it. Now, there's other ways that you can be friendly. Thank you, David Barry. The honesty doctrine. Peter, I agree with you. Thank you, Deborah. This was actually very enlightening in many different ways. All right, tomorrow, the card reading day, send in your request, and check out tonight over on artistfirst.com, 10 p.m. Eastern, and then put your time zone to it. We'll be talking about the soulless humans. There's a connection here. There's a connection. I wonder if it's the soulless that end up in religions. No. I think they feed upon the ones that have the souls. That's why they say, come on in, we'll convert you. Oh, yeah, that would make sense. They would convert your energy into theirs. Never thought that. Hey, Posey, thank you. Joyce, are you serious? Good to see you, dear. All right, Mother Nature, good to see you as well. We'll see y'all later. All right, much love. Bye-bye.